the judge in the Georgia election case throwing out some, not all, but some of the charges against Donald Trump and his co-defendants. How significant is this?
It's bad for the prosecution, but not fatal. And any prosecutor bringing a case, look, it's frustrating to have charges thrown out that you spent months working on, putting before a grand jury, and so on. There's a couple things. Number one, the judge all but invites the prosecutors to refile these charges. They have, a 6-month period in which they can refile the charges. And the issue here is that the indictments weren't sufficiently specific as to some of the counts, right? And you can correct that. It's not like the judge found that there was no possible set of circumstances under which these charges could be filed. So it's really up to the prosecutors to decide whether to bring these charges again. The one sort of bit of intrigue and interesting aspect of it is now, with these 6 charges dismissed, Mark Meadows now only has the racketeering charge against him. He'd been charged with 2 offenses, this violation of oath and racketeering. The violation of oath charge is now out. So there's really only 1 count that applies to Mark Meadows in the indictment as it exists today.
Well, that's a significant count, though.
Yeah, that's a big one. That's the big one.
That's what I mean.
Clear.
Yeah. You know, what's your take, Lori?
Well, this doesn't throw out the Raffensperger count. You know, former President Trump calling Brad Raffensperger, asking for, what was it, 11,700 votes, right? I mean, that is still contained in this indictment.
In terms of being a violation of one's oath of office to have made that call, no, that's not that's not a charge anymore. Now the judge is also clear that all of the conduct in these charges that were tossed still can apply to other charges. It's just this specific crime in Georgia of violating one's oath of office.
So what would that come under then?
That's the thing. It's because the oath of office in Georgia is pretty broad. This prosecutors didn't say what aspect of their oath was violated here. Was it, I don't know, pledging to take care and defend and protect the Georgia state constitution or whatever else? All prosecutors have to do, if they wish to proceed, is just say, we are charging you with the crime of violation of your oath because on this date, this is the way you broke the oath that you swore to, and it would probably stand up in court.
Sure, Michael, how do you see it?
I mean, look, Wolf, I think for most Americans, they're principally concerned with a few other things. I think the idea of Donald Trump and the political court cases that are pending are sort of baked in for the most part. It's intrigue, it's a lot of chaos. But I think when you compare that to other things such as the economy, immigration, I think most viewers politically would see that as a sort of set aside. I think many Republican voters are going to come to the aid and rally behind the former president because they see this through the lens of a sort of political prosecution, if you will. For independent voters, I think the president and Republicans have to articulate other important things. Under President Biden, sure, you have a job, but you've seen an erosion of your spending power. Maybe you're a younger person graduated from college. You can't afford to buy your first home. So if they can articulate that message, you sort of remove the focus from the court trials and back to some of those more tangible things that really impact people's day-to-day lives.
You know, a really important point here is you have 2 lawyers on the panel now who just recovering lawyers who spent 2 minutes explaining a somewhat arcane provision in Georgia law in an indictment. What Trump and his supporters are going to hear is, we won today in court, they're throwing it all away, this is all junk. And it's easy to reduce this, to Shermichael's point, to a political issue. It's, yes, there's an important charge tossed from the indictment. It's not a huge one, but it's a victory for Trump, and they can spin it as a victory.
'Twas ever thus. He spins everything as a victory, right?
Go ahead, Paula.
It's also so chaotic down there, right? I mean, if we step aside from just the charges themselves, it's the political atmosphere surrounding this case, completely unlike the other 3 criminal prosecutions he's facing. These efforts to disqualify Fani Willis, even if they are not successful with removing her from the case, they have certainly tainted, right, the view of this prosecution. This is something that even the average American voter who's not paying attention to all of his legal issues, they would be like, wait a second, you had a romantic relationship with the person who's overseeing this. They received hundreds of thousands of dollars. And even as lawyers, well, we can explain why some of that may not have met the standard that has been set for disqualification. There's an ick factor, and it's not just Trump, right, who is on trial in these cases. It is the integrity, the trust of the justice system, and that's the biggest problem down in Georgia. It's just such a chaotic mess.
And one more thing to add on top of that, the judge, as he's writing this opinion, is up for re-election, and we have no reason to suggest he's not acting in an above-board, proper manner, calling balls and strikes as he sees them, but he's still in a political campaign himself.
Just gave a public interview.
And that's the great tragedy in many jurisdictions in this country, that you make judges run.
I thought that was pretty extraordinary for this judge high-profile sitting trial like this is doing public interviews, in effect campaigning for his re-election.
It's mind-boggling.
We've also seen two political challengers, potentially to Fani Willis, that have come out and said that they're going to challenge her because they now don't believe that she has the best interest or the ability to really lead. And so you are seeing, to Paula's point and also to your point, the politicization of this, of people saying, wait a minute here, if I was on my job, would I still have a job if I displayed this type of behavior?
Yeah.
I think the answer is no.
Yeah.
Paula, there's going to be an interesting development tomorrow. Trump is expected to be in court. Tell us about that.
So this is for the Mar-a-Lago classified documents case, the allegations that he mishandled those documents and tried to obstruct efforts to get them back. And the judge tomorrow, she's going to hear arguments about motions to dismiss these charges. Now, we don't expect that the case is going to be completely dismissed, but all of these cases, the big question is timing, right? A hearing here, a filing there, a few days, a few weeks. The goal of the Trump team is and has always been to get the two federal cases, of which this is one, pushed past the election. Why do they want to get it pushed past the election? Well, if Trump is reelected, he can make both of those cases go away. So what we're watching for tomorrow is we don't really expect the charges will be dismissed. We're looking for any clues as to when this case is going to go to trial. Because I was there a week or two, I lose track, down in Fort Pierce when the judge was hearing arguments about how far back to delay this case. So what we're really watching down there is when Eileen Cannon, the judge, the Trump-appointed judge, puts this case on the trial, so on the calendar, because again, it's getting pretty close to the election. But I will say something that was really interesting last time I was down there is the Justice Department revealed that they are open to bringing that case even within the 2 months before the election. That was an open question. How close to the election are you willing to go? Usually they don't take investigative steps that close to an election in a case that could impact the outcome. But the fact that the Justice Department is willing to take this case to trial maybe in September or October, that is significant, but ultimately it's up to the judge to decide when this goes.
Both Biden and Trump now have more than enough delegates to become their respective party nominees. And Biden tomorrow is going to be in Wisconsin. It's a state that he narrowly won in 2020.
That's right.
And polls right now show that he's behind Trump in Wisconsin, at least some of the recent polls.
He's behind Trump in a lot of the states he won in 2020, and that's a real problem for him. And what he's got to do is get his constituencies back under the tent. And that's not easy. And what he's trying to do right now, we see it every day, is make this a choice election. And in that case, Donald Trump almost becomes the incumbent. And you're running against Donald Trump, so he's reminding people of the chaos under Donald Trump, as Nikki Haley would put it. And then he's got to explain to them what he's done for people, you know, prescription drug benefits, lowering the cost of insulin for seniors and all the rest of it, and tell them what his vision is for the future and what he's going to do for them in the future. But I think what we're hearing now is that he's telling people, I'm the optimistic candidate. I'm not the candidate who has this dystopian vision about America and this country. You know, the other day, Donald Trump said, America is dying. And I think what you're going to hear from Joe Biden is an optimistic message that America will prosper.
Optimism is important. All right, guys, thank you.